Good morning, everyone. It's another beautiful spring morning in Australia, and I thought, what a great time to make another video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about my personal journey towards the teachings of non-duality. And if you so choose, feel free to share your story in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. But if not, fair enough. But this is my personal journey towards the teachings of non-duality, these life-changing teachings that have literally changed my life. I started off being born into a little religion you may have heard of, Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, I'm not here to hate. I'm not here to judge. Because I know a lot of bad things have been said about this religion, and there's so much about it online, and it ultimately wasn't for me, but I always look for the positives in every situation. Why was I grateful to be born in this religion? Because at the very least, what did I get out of it? Being exposed to spirituality, being exposed to the God concept, being exposed to serving something greater than yourself. This is all good stuff. But ultimately, it wasn't for me. In around my early teens, I left these teachings. And I became, I guess, an atheist. I didn't believe in anything. But also at this time, I was hanging around my uncle on my mother's side. He has always been into the deep questions of life, philosophy, the meaning of life, the meaning of the universe. Around that time, the first Matrix movie came out, and he took me to watch that. And he'd asked me, what do you think of this? What is this message trying to convey? And at the time, I didn't even know. Now, it makes a lot more sense to me, what the Matrix was trying to say. But in any case, I was an atheist. I was exposed to my uncle talking about all these deep and meaningful topics about life. This continued up until my early 20s. And at that point, I started dabbling with meditation, nothing serious. From my teens until early to mid-20s, I always thought the world's the problem. People are the problem. It's only around the mid-20s I started being exposed to teachings that would say, the world isn't the problem. Your mindset is the problem. Change your mind and the world changes. So I did a little bit of meditation. I tried to do a little bit of that, altering my perception of the world. Nothing serious, but the teachings were coming into my awareness. It wasn't until just after my 30th birthday that I really started to dive into spiritual practice, into Buddhism, in particularly Tibetan Buddhism. Why Tibetan Buddhism? Because there was a teaching that really appealed to me, dream yoga, which is basically lucid dreaming. But what's the difference? Lucid dreaming is you do practices to get you into a lucid dream state, a dream where you know you're dreaming, but then you use it as your own fantasy reality. You can do what you want in the lucid dream. It's like a virtual reality. I would do a lot of flying, visiting certain people, doing all this weird and wonderful stuff. A fantasy reality. What's the difference? What is dream yoga? Going into the lucid dreaming state, but not to have fun. It's to do more spiritual practice. Getting into the lucid dreaming state and meditating. It makes it so much more effective when you're meditating in a lucid dream or trying to alter reality in the dream. They've got all these practices, basically. I won't go into them too much. But basically, you're using the lucid dream to progress spiritually. Also, I was doing so much meditation, hours a day. And here was the issue. Every time I get into anything, I'm very focused. My whole attention goes into that thing. Now, this was an issue for me because it was affecting my relationship. It was affecting my life because I started thinking, my goal is inner peace. My goal today is to meditate. And then what would happen? Life would get in the way. Sorry, this has come up. Sorry, that has come up. And I'm like, but this is my meditation time. Also, lucid dreaming, I was getting good at it. But then some days I couldn't do it. And that would annoy the hell out of me too. What I'm basically saying is there is nothing wrong with these teachings that I was listening to. It was just me. I was taking them so serious. I was neglecting normal life in favor of these teachings. And then I reminded myself, why am I even getting into spirituality in the first place? To end suffering, to find inner peace. I realized you can't find it in the world. I'll find it in spiritual teachings. But now, instead of the world irritating me, these teachings were irritating me. Or not being able to do them when I wanted to do them was irritating me. Then I slowly stumbled across the teachings of Neo-Advaita. What is the difference between Neo-Advaita and traditional Advaita non-duality? Neo-Advaita takes the teachings of Advaita and just strips them all away and goes straight to the top. This was really appealing to me at the time. What's the central thing they talk about in Neo-Advaita? Who are you? Your pure consciousness. This is true. This is what they're trying to tell you in traditional Advaita too. But in Neo-Advaita they say, all you need is this knowledge. You're not the body, you're not the mind, you're the pure witness. But then they leave it at that, basically. They're saying, there's nothing to do, there's no one here, any spiritual practice reinforces the sense of a separate self. They're basically saying spiritual practice isn't required. There's no one here, there's nothing to do. And again, this is the ultimate conclusion of Advaita. But what's the difference between Neo-Advaita and Advaita? Advaita acknowledges the relative level of reality. They say, yes, at the ultimate level, there's nothing to do, there's no one here, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no coming, there is no going, there's no one trapped in ignorance, there's no one trying to become enlightened, there are no enlightened people, all that kind of talk. That is the ultimate conclusion of Advaita. But again, they heavily also emphasize, but there is a relative level of reality that we're in right now. You can't pretend that you don't feel like a separate person in a separate world. And when you do feel like a separate person in a separate world, it means you still need to go to work. You still need to take care of loved ones. You still need to do spiritual practice. And I'm not saying this to criticize Neo-Advaita, because Neo-Advaita got me into Advaita. It was a gateway into these more traditional teachings and practices. But again, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, Neo-Advaita was good. Like I said, it got me into traditional Advaita, but again, it ultimately wasn't for me. Because yes, it's good to know the ultimate truth, but how is it practical? And that's why I call this channel Practical Non-Duality. How do you live this teaching day to day? But in any case, from Neo-Advaita, it led me into traditional Advaita Vedanta. And I was into these teachings to about the year 2020. And till today, of course, currently. But here is another big shift that happened in 2020 during lockdown. I would read the gospel. I read the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Bang! Another big realization. I call this phase beyond non-duality. But technically speaking, it wouldn't be beyond non-duality. It would be, I guess, true non-duality. And what do I mean by that? What was so groundbreaking about Sri Ramakrishna's teaching? When I was in the Advaita Vedanta phase, and you may experience this too, there's this sense of, this is the final thing. Advaita Vedanta is the top. If spirituality was like this, religion's down here somewhere, Advaita is the top. Oneness, the experience of oneness with all reality. All this stuff below it is, yeah, it's helpful to get to the ultimate teaching, which is oneness. What was so different about Sri Ramakrishna's teaching? He's basically saying, there is no higher and lower. And what does that mean? It means that true non-duality means the essence of reality is prior to all language, to all concepts, but is immanent within all concepts. What are you talking about? Well, why is that so groundbreaking? Why is that such a paradigm shift? Because it makes you realize if the essence of reality is truth, everything is made of truth. And I've made videos on this in the past where I've said, why do we always think we're right in life? When you're a child, you think you know more than your parents. When you're a bit older, you think, okay, my parents, I did know more than my parents. When you're a Christian, you think you're right. You might switch to Islam and think you're right. You might switch to Buddhism and think you're right. You might switch to Hinduism and think you're right. The reason we always think we're right, because the substance, the essence of reality is made of truth. So this is what I take from Sri Ramakrishna. He's saying there is no higher and lower. If there's 8 billion people seeking God, all paths lead to God in their own unique way. It also reminds me of a saying in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 11. Krishna basically says, however my devotees approach me, I approach them in the same way. Everyone follows my path knowingly or unknowingly. What does that mean? If you approach God in the form of Jesus, he'll appear as Jesus. If you approach God in the form of Allah, he'll appear as Allah. If you approach God in the form of Krishna, he appears as Krishna. If you approach God in the form of non-duality, oneness, reality appears as oneness. If you approach God in the form of an atheist, what God? There is no God here. God gives you what you want. You'll see a world devoid of God. Basically, they're saying God is so loving, he, she, it gives you what you want. However you view reality, that's how it's presented. That's basically what this teaching is trying to say. And again, why was this such a big paradigm shift in my thinking? It's because, like I said, there's a certain sense, once you get these non-dual teachings, that this is the ultimate. But now I've come to realize there is no right and wrong. There is no higher and lower. All these are concepts in language. Like I said, all these concepts are taught to us. Even the teachings of non-duality, they say these in these non-dual scriptures. Even these teachings ultimately need to be discarded because they're not the ultimate truth. These teachings are, you could class them as philosophy, but I would class them as beyond philosophy, because I've never heard of a philosophy that says the ultimate end of this philosophy is to ignore this philosophy as well. And again, what has these teachings of Sri Ramakrishna done for me personally? It has made me realize, again, if you sincerely follow any path, you'll find your way to inner peace or God. Going back to these Jehovah's Witnesses, there were so many genuine seekers of God in that religion that I feel as long as they're genuinely seeking God, they're going to find God. They're going to find inner peace. And this is another thing I found in posting YouTube videos on spirituality. There's a lot of positive comments and there's a lot of negative comments about, you're saying it wrong. Who are you to even talk about this? All this kind of negativity around spirituality, and it just boggles my mind. Well, I guess I should say it boggles my mind now because, again, we're all different. We're all genuinely seeking inner peace, enlightenment. And what the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna have personally shown me is, as long as you're genuine in your seeking towards enlightenment or God, it doesn't matter what path you take. We're getting all bogged up in the details. This is right, this is wrong. Why? Who are you to talk about this? Why do I even talk about this? I don't class myself as a spiritual teacher. I'm just another fellow seeker on the path, sharing my experiences. And why is that? Because when I was in my earlier stages of seeking, I would love to hear stories of other seekers. You want to be around people that are similar to you. You want to hear stories from people that are going through the same thing you're going through. So all these people that get caught up in me and my channel, or what I'm saying, if you make it this far in the video, just remember that. We're not here to battle. We're here to work together to achieve inner peace, enlightenment, God realization, whatever you want to call it. This is a good thing. The more people talking about this, spreading this message, is going to make the world a better place. These are the teachings of love, oneness, unity. So why get caught up in, I don't like how you said it, what you're saying is wrong, this is ridiculous? Of course you're free to do that, but I don't see the point. That's what I'm saying. But in any case, as always, I've gone off into a little rant, but I hope this video has helped you. I hope this video has shown you my path over the years, where I started, where I am at currently, and I would love to hear what your path is, where you started and where you ended up in the comment section if you are comfortable. But until the next video, guys, take care of yourselves, okay? See ya.